the issue of aid, this has become big issue in the sense that the ICJ is looking into the case itself. The UN General Assembly has requested an opinion from the ICJ on Israel's obligation to the UN, and also with regards to what are its obligations to allowing aid to pass into Gaza. So there's still ongoing discussions about that. Do you want to, I guess, bring us up to speed regarding this ICJ case? This is the third ICJ case against Israel. There is, of course, the genocide case, and the second one, which was to determine if Israel's occupation of the West Bank and Gaza is illegal, and it determined that it is illegal. And now this is the third one, and not to mention, of course, the ICC case. So, I guess, what point does Israel's defiance of international law become its very nature, rather than an exception to the rule? It's the rule in itself. Israel's very existence, the way it occupies, the way it governs, the way it exists, is defiance of everything we understand from our sense of values and international law and all those principles. So do you want to, I guess, bring us up to speed with that?
Yeah, just in response to your last point, there's really no serious student of international relations who holds an opinion other than that Israel is a rogue state, pure and simple, given its actions, its conduct, its attitude towards the international community's norms and values, its thorough contempt and disdain for international law and international institutions. And it is this contempt and disdain that led to the case that we're now discussing, which is, of course, that Israel declared UNRWA, the United Nations Refugee Agency for Palestinian refugees, declared it a terrorist organization, passed legislation making it illegal for UNRWA not to operate in territories that Israel, according to the International Court of Justice, illegally occupies. And what happened is, I believe it was Norway, introduced a draft resolution at the United Nations General Assembly to request an advisory opinion from the ICJ about Israel's obligations towards international organizations, including the UN and other third parties, seeking to provide humanitarian aid and assistance to the occupied population, in other words, to the Palestinians in the West Bank and the Gaza Strip. And last week, I believe it was 2 or 3 days of hearings were conducted at the ICJ in The Hague, in which any interested party, any government that wanted to present its views on the matter was able to do so before the judges of the ICJ. And there was virtual unanimity that Israel was in flagrant violation of its obligations under international law, of its obligations to respect the immunity of the United Nations, and so on. There were, of course, the usual exceptions. The United States took the position that, under its interpretation of international law, anything Israel does is by definition legal. Hungary, of course, and then you had this mealy-mouthed position by the United Kingdom, which was, as Britain so often does, talking out of both sides of its mouth. So those hearings have concluded, and a ruling by the ICJ is expected, I believe, in July. And it's an advisory opinion, which is basically a technical term, meaning that it's an opinion provided to the General Assembly on the basis of a request by the General Assembly. The ICJ precedent has made clear that an advisory opinion by the court is as binding on the international community and its member states as a ruling issued in response to a dispute between two member states.